All right. Let's meet in order at 6 o'clock. And just a reminder, everybody out there in Zoom land, if you want to be recognized, just wave your mouse around. On the bottom, it says raise hand, and Laura will unmute you when it's your turn to talk. Beautiful. Roll call. On Zoom land is Dave, and then in person would be...
Actually, it looks like Julie's also.
Oh, Julie's out there? Okay. Hey, Julie. Julie's out there.
And so is Steve Perroni.
And Steve Perroni. Oh, wow. I was way off.
And his wife, Michelle.
Oh, that's why. Okay. All right. Cool. Thank you.
Amber Wilson, recording secretary. Cheryl Hammond. Kelly Tardo.
Paul Lachowski.
Lauren Fearman.
Adrian Williams.
Jeff Hance.
Julie Farrell.
Todd Farrell.
Go ahead.
Randy Miles.
Lauren Baker.
All right. Excellent. Thank you. Next up, motion to approve the agenda. Kelly makes the motion. Adrian seconds it. Any additions or deletions? All right. Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye. Raise your hand. Opposed? All right. Next, approval of the minutes. Let's see. Looking for a motion to approve September 27, 2023 special meeting minutes. Which was our board retreat.
I'll make that motion.
Makes the motion.
Wasn't there, so.
Adrian seconds it.
So.
Right. Yes.
There wasn't a quorum.
Yeah.
That's correct. Yes. Just TRSU remount. How did everybody feel about those minutes? Good? And there Zoom land? All right. All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand.
All right.
Opposed? And you abstain. Kelly abstains. All right. Next, let's see. Look for a motion for the October 5th, 2023 regular meeting minutes. Ready? Adrian makes the motion.
I'll second.
Jeff a second. And this, you were not there, Kelly? No, that one either?
There,
Oh,
there they've been slacking.
jeez. All right, look, everybody good with them? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Right.
Opposed? Abstained? Kelly abstains. All right. And then the final one here, looking for a motion to approve October 26, 2023 special meeting minutes.
What was that?
You were there, Kelly.
Yeah, I can't find it in my tab, so hang on, yeah.
Adrian makes the motion. Kelly seconds it. So the only thing in our book, right here, it says regular meeting minutes at the top. It should say special.
Yeah.
So we got to make that.
That's not the only thing. Apparently, I also only listed Adrian for the GM board, and I understand Steve.
Yes, Steve was there. Okay.
Steve's on here.
No, as far as, for the committee, for the GM board member serving on the committee.
Okay. And where would that? Yeah.
I don't.
Don't know if I hadn't got to that point yet.
Huh?
It was fine.
Last paragraph.
Did we have two?
Right.
You volunteered, but did Steve?
Yeah. Yeah, Steve did. Okay, I see it right here on the bottom. Yeah. My name, Steve. All right. So we'll add Steve in there. All right. Any other corrections? Up there. Everyone
No, I can't, I just couldn't find them on a tab, so
Yeah.
I'll go to the paper version.
got it. All right. All those in favor of the corrections?
I'm sorry, who ended up making the motion on that?
Adrian made a motion. And then Kelly seconded. Yes. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Okay.
Opposed? All right. Next, communications and public comments.
Yeah. I gotta be here for this, okay? It's not for kids. Sorry, this one's not for kids.
What happened?
Steve,
Steve?
so that they can say aye when you're taking.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. All right. Public comment. Any public comment? No?
Just
I'm here tonight for a couple of reasons. One issue that I have is there seems to be a time limit for public comment that's changed to 2 minutes. I feel as a citizen, taxpayer, or student that 2 minutes is a very short time to be able to say something. I think a more reasonable time frame would be 4 to 5 minutes. I understand the 20 minutes are going on, but I think 2 minutes is just a little too low of a number to be able to say what we need to say. My other comment I wish to make at this point in time is about the Zoom. I don't really think it's fair to everyone to block them out, and I don't know how you achieve this, but to block people out. I had my son that was on a meeting for the last one, and he waited and waited and waited, and he was not let on. As a citizen, I don't know how many people are on. I don't know how many people are represented. We have no knowledge of this whatsoever. There is nothing like the visual eye-to-eye contact or seeing somebody express themselves for the truth and reason that they come speak. So I find fault with blocking people out and not being able to see that. I mean, we're all on camera. It's not an easy thing to do, but if you have something important to say, I think it's your obligation to make that effort. And I'm sure there must be ways of accomplishing this. This is nothing new, so there's got to be ways of doing this. I also would like to ask this board how they control other boards. I feel that our board is out of control and it's not going away. We have issues that come up and I felt that they could have been resolved and taken out of the board's hand, but they just don't let it go. And I don't know who else to talk to at this point in time. Things are in a very bad place and they need to be straightened out. And I know there's talk in here and that's good. But we really need to straighten this out more sooner than later because it's gotten out of hand. I thank you for your time at this point.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Go along. Superintendent's report.
All right, the VSBA joint meeting in Lake Maury was last week, October 26th and 27th. Paul and I attended workshops while we were there for 2 days and also completed the required 8 hours of joint professional development for board chairs and superintendents. One of the workshops we attended, it was on the new model policy on wellness and comprehensive health. I went over that updated local wellness guide, which we'll be addressing at our next policy committee meeting. Just to give everybody a little background on that, the policy covers goals around nutrition education, food service, physical education, and activity, and comprehensive health education plan. We have a policy in place. The state has recently updated it and it is a required policy and required for all SUs and school districts to go over and use the newly updated plan. The nutrition guidelines called for food that is served, sold, or provided for free to meet the smart snack standards. And that has been in place for a while, but it's a good opportunity to remind everybody of that, given that frequently, especially around the holiday season, there are a great many fundraisers that happen, as well as parents who want to bring treats and things in. When you have a wellness policy that follows the smart snacks standards, that is a hard one to say. There are requirements for anything that is in the school during the school day. They have to be grain products that contain 50% or more of whole grains by weight, have as the first ingredient fruit, vegetable, dairy food, or protein, be a combination food that contains at least a quarter cup of fruit or vegetables, such as a quarter cup of raisins with enriched pretzels. The food must meet nutritional standards for calories, sodium, fats, and total sugars. And the vast majority of things that families want to bake and want to send in don't get anywhere close to meeting nutritional guidelines. Nobody wants to wind up having to tell people that they can't do that. At the same time, these are requirements we're supposed to follow. So for when people are thinking about what they want to send in or what they want to use for fundraisers, they should talk with the school administrator to make sure that what they're suggesting is not going to wind up being something that violates our policies. And on that happy note, we also attended the budget and financial oversight meeting. And we're going to do our first budget proposal here tonight for the TRSU, but I would remind everybody that the VSBA is sponsoring a webinar on November 14th from noon to 1:30 that is going to go over the current state of the financial process in Vermont, which is complicated and challenging. Usually they do one called Line Items, Tax Rates, and Budgets, oh my. And this is kind of taking the place of that. It will cover all of those same things, but talk specifically about a number of things that Cheryl and I will talk about later, which is the context for finances at the moment, which there are a number of new statutes and new weighting studies and things that make things a little more complicated. The registration link is available on the VSBA website. Also, we have a flu clinic that is going to happen at Green Mountain Union High School on November 8th from 1 to 5. That is open to students, staff, and the public. We'll be doing flu vaccines. There are forms that have to be filled out ahead of time. If you're connected with the high school, you've already received those forms from the nurse, Katrina Boisenhoff. If you want to go to it, whether you are in that area or not, if you contact the school, they'll get the forms to you. And most of the rest of what I have to talk about, we will hear when we do the budget proposal. And if there are specific questions anybody has, I'm glad to answer those.
Anybody questions?
Dave had his thumb up.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. Move along. Facilities director report.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Can everybody hear me out there? Because we had some issues with that last time.
I think it works best if you direct your voice that way as a person who sometimes is on that end.
Okay,
We've got a thumbs up from a couple of people, so at least at the moment they can hear you.
okay. For permitting, I would, and we're gonna schedule Craig to come in and speak with the boards because things. He hasn't spoken works for a while, I think.
Now we're hearing that the sound is cutting in and out, and I suspect every time you turn your face to
Okay.
the screen, you can't hear.
Well, the face has been complete. Some additional. See, get some price. Cameras.
They still can't hear you, Todd. I think you're gonna have to come and sit a little closer.
Hey guys, sit back here with us.
How's that? Is that any better? You getting the thumbs up, Lauren?
Yep,
Okay, infrared testing is being scheduled for the roof to determine thickness and effectiveness of insulation here at Ludlow Elementary. The 3D imaging of both schools has been completed. EEI will be using that with their presentation, which they're doing in December, right, for their big presentation. Green Mountain Unified, the elevator project is within budget, which is great news. They did have there's been 2 regular techs there working, one left on vacation, the other one just came down seriously ill. That's gonna put that project off about a week. I'm not real concerned about that. I think they've been moving along pretty good. Green Mountain at the high school, we lost 2 circulator pumps last month. It's gonna put a dent in our budget, but it's not gonna put us over. New smoke detectors on each floor in front of the elevators, which was triggered by updating the elevator. So that was part of the budget. The second round of indoor air quality testing for PCBs is gonna happen this coming weekend. Harbor Environmental will do the testing, and Monsanto's lawyers have been given the info that they've requested. Chester Andover, Cheryl and I are still working with FEMA on reimbursement for anything we can get. I met with a technician for a lift for the stage there because they're doing OT on the stage and we're not meeting ADA requirements. And if FEMA will pay for that as long as we're using that. If we stop using it and decide to do it down the road, then it's gonna be on our dime. So it's beneficial for us to do that now. We've scheduled the 3-year asbestos reinspection for Chester Andover and GM. We've been working on a project at Chester Andover about extending the parking lot and reconfiguring the traffic flow. There is a grant that we got notified about from the town of Chester, so I've been looking into that, and I'm going to meet with the Mount Escutney Regional Planning Commission on November 21st. And that's just a start of this federal grant that we're going to try to apply for. And then Cheryl and I are going to work on the rest of that grant. It's a little bit extensive. I met with the floodplain administrator from the town of Chester. He went to Chester Andover and got a substantial damage determination on the White House, which is part of our ongoing process with FEMA. And I've met with a couple people about some prices on different things for that parking lot project. Cavendish, the playground project is nearing completion, should be 90% done after this weekend. They're still looking for volunteers, so if anybody's bored this weekend, please go to Cavendish. I know they're looking for help. We've resolved our issues with the slide. We're pretty confident that Utah is gonna make that right. Their new facility supervisor is fitting in well. He's been meeting with some different vendors all week. And we're gonna ask for an increase in the budget at Cavendish under repair and maintenance because that budget has been so low that things have not been getting done there. We received the plowing bills from Crown Point and they stayed the same as last year. So anytime we can get a vendor to give us the same price for something 1 year to the next is awesome. Lastly, the GM Fall Sports have concluded. All teams were represented well. They competed extremely well. We're tying up a few loose ends with banquets in our winter sports. The busiest time of year will start on November 27th in earnest. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah.
Do we, I think I know the answer, but I want to make sure I'm clear. Cavendish and Chester, Green Mountain, all pay a private company to plow, whereas Ludlow and Mount Holly, it's both done by the municipal.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I know years ago, way before my time, the town used to plow at the high school, but it was way too much. It was way too much for them to tackle. So one last thing, I will be on vacation for the Ludlow Mount Holly or the LMH meeting and the next Green Mountain meeting. That's why I kind of wrote this up tonight. If you want Lauren to give the update to each individual board, that's fine, or our representatives from our boards here can update their respective boards. But Lauren said she would be
You just let me
completely
know whether
happy.
you'd rather do it in the TRSU board report that you give, or whether you want me to do it with the board report.
Yeah, either way,
I don't know.
Okay.
that's good. Yeah, everybody good?
Yep. Everybody good out there too? Thank you. All right. Next up here is our first one, Commissioner's report.
Keeping with the practice. If you click the link in the agenda, months. Presentation with more detail. The theme this month, as you'll notice when you read the report, has to do with the work we're doing around data-driven culture.
Questions. All right, now, thank you. All right, next, okay, financial update.
Okay, I too will be brief because we'll be talking a lot about the budget here shortly. So you have October. Hard to believe we're here already. And most of everything looks good. We're still at the beginning of the year. Not a lot of over budget type of items at this point in the year, with the exception of special ed, and that has to do generally with a student who came in or their services changed that we weren't expecting, and now that line's off or wasn't budgeted, period, because we didn't know about the student. And that is the role of special ed. That's the way it rolls. Any questions about the financials? The only other thing I want to report is 2 of our 3 audits are back in draft form, and I will add that to my list of things to do to get them done. But that's good for our budgeting process, because once we have an audited year, then we can use that fund balance. Not as we wish, but we'll put it in the revenues, offsetting revenues, or we'll ask the taxpayers to. So conversations later.
Okay, sounds good. Any questions, comments on that? All right, moving right along here. We got some old business to take care of. Policies, some second reads here and adoptions. So E10, which is a stipend policy. So we looked at it in a whole month. Big read there, long read. It's even easy for me. Someone like to make a motion. Adrian makes the motion. I'd like to second it. You can zoom in.
Anybody? If I can find it, I'll second it. I can't even find it at the moment.
Second it.
On tabs or paper. Oh, this one.
There you go.
Got it,
Yes,
thank you.
Yes. All right. Everybody like that? Easy there? Everyone good out there? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Next is the F9 transportation. So we did add something to transportation here. It's in the first paragraph. It's like halfway down. It says the provisions of bus transportation is contingent on the availability of licensed personnel. We were asked in the local Mahali meeting to add something saying like, as long as we can have drivers, we're good to go.
Show me where that is again, Paul, sorry. Thank you. That's provision. There we go.
There you go. So that was the only thing that we changed on that. So. Make a motion to adopt transportation. And then Kelly seconds.
Second.
Right. All right. I'll give it to Kelly. Give me Dave. All right. Everybody good with that? All in favor say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. And then next, the final one is G10 cybersecurity. In this one here, we made a change to on the back page under D. It says that all employees shall undergo the annual cybersecurity awareness training provided by the TRSU. So we added that. TRSU. That was once again the Local Mahali board meeting. They like that added on there. So we're clear that the TRSU will provide the training. On that, nothing else has changed.
Make a motion.
Molly makes the motion. Adrian seconds it. All right. I'm giving it to
Quicker
Adrian.
on that space bar, Dave.
Well, somebody unmuted me, so I got to talk.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
So Rick Alexander is also here. Okimo's iPhone 2 is Rick.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. So Rick is iPhone 2. All right. Excellent. Beautiful. Thank you for that update. All right. Let's see. That's good. That's good. All right. The next one is our TRSU 23-24 goals. Now, I have the goals here. I don't know, did everyone get the goals? We got them at the last meeting. So I'd like to set some dates if we can. All right, so I'm gonna read it off. So the first one is an administration goal, more than a board goal, but I'll read it off. So it says, number 1, the board will receive the administration's definition of student success for its consideration by the end of the 23-24 school year. So we decided to add our board retreat. So the next one is, this is a board goal, is we will revise and finalize the draft vision statement by a certain date. So I'm either thinking by next month's meeting or by January's board meeting, because by going to this conference, I realize it's very important to have a vision statement. And we really need one before, the next superintendent's coming in. It'd be nice to have a finalized vision statement. So we need to pick a date. Want to try for next month when we can go through it, we can take what we already have and finalize it, or do we want to make it for January? So we have 2 board meetings to get it finalized.
January.
Huh?
January.
January, we think we'll work on it in December and then we'll finalize it on January. How's that sound, everybody?
Smart. Good.
Okay.
Okay.
How does that fit in on the timeline of this?
But we don't have, we're good.
Or,
Yes, we're good with the timeline, yes, of the superintendent search, yes. All right, so number 3 is it says the boards will revise and finalize the comprehensive 3-year board calendar that will include continued board development by, and I was recommending maybe by our next retreat, we can get it done. So since I feel it's like not super high priority, it's there, but because that's a little bit more involved. What do you guys think on that one?
have a current 3-year calendar and when
We
do
have a draft. We have a draft.
We have a draft.
Yes, we have a draft.
It was shared with everybody
Yes, it was a draft, so.
some time ago, but it's available. I can
Right,
share it again.
right. So we'll work on it between now and July of next year. How does that sound?
By formalizing it at the.
Right, by form, maybe at the retreat,
At the retreat,
we can
formalize
formalize it, so it gives us a ton of months to work on it. How does that sound?
Good.
Yep.
Very long? Well, if we get it done quicker, then that'll be great. I mean, if we could get it done in a month or two, that'd be awesome too, but that's like the latest. Put by, so it doesn't mean we have to do them.
So are you suggesting that that would be something that you want to put on the agenda to talk about?
Sure, yes, correct, yes, absolutely. All right, and then let's see, this one here is more of like, all right, all boards will continue to focus on consistently holding efficient and effective board meetings through continued board development. It says A, the Green Mountain Board will rebuild trust among its members through continued board development. That will include a board retreat, team building activities, a series of facilitated small group dialogues for mediation with the whole board. So.
Efficient and what was the other?
Efficient and effective. So there goes to our, right? How do you guys like that? Right? That's what we need to do. Get the board, Green Mountain Board to work a little bit better, more effective. I think that's a great thing. All right, so that's all in that one. And then the next two are just, let's see, the TRSU board will hire a new superintendent by June 30th of 2024. And I think we're well on our way of making that happening. So hopefully by February rather than June, but it says by June. So we're currently working on that. So I think board's doing a good job with that goal. And then let's see, the TRSU board will develop a simple and clear superintendent evaluation system by. So this is a hard one. So I mean, we got to clearly have one by time the superintendent's hired, but hiring superintendents in February.
So was there never one in place?
Yes,
Yes, there was, or yes, there was not.
there's one in place.
So what are we?
It's lengthy, and after the board adopted and approved it in the summer of 2021 and in the summer of 2022, did not use it because it is
Can that be sent
very
so
long.
that we can, I mean, instead of recreating a wheel, just,
Right, yep.
so maybe just have that sent out to the board to.
Okay, to take a look at, and then we'll talk about it next month. Right, that seems to be the big thing we gotta get done is the evaluations, so
Is it-
maybe we can simplify it.
Is
Maybe
it necessary to have it done by the time we hire, or is it necessary to have it done by July 1st when the new person takes over?
well, I feel like someone coming in might want to know what they're gonna be evaluated on.
I
So-
think so as well, but
I mean,
So then we would probably need to have it by mid-January at the latest, I would say.
Right. I mean, that's, and if you want to do it by the January 30th, by the January, we can do January meeting. Because then we can still talk about a December meeting in January, so if you want to do that.
Okay.
We'll
Yes.
make it out to everybody, you know, right away, so we can all take a look at that.
Yep.
We already have the draft vision and then the lengthy evaluation, let's make it shorter. So we'll put January.
Is there, maybe talking to some other districts, other units, so, you know, like, see if there's something more efficient elsewhere. I really, this cannot be that brand new of a concept that we spend that much time with.
The one we have is the one that's recommended by the VSBA. So, and it's actually a slightly shortened version of the one that the VSBA recommends. So a lot of districts use that. But I would imagine that there may be other places that have done some shorter ones. I can certainly ask.
So the one we're currently using is what's recommended by the VSBA.
That is the one the VSBA, the VSBA.
Change this because it's.
Yeah. How about we take a look at it, because I haven't seen it since 21 too. So it's been a while.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if the VSBA is recommending it, why we would.
It's just a recommendation, we could twist it to make our own.
If it's so long and cumbersome that we're not doing it, which it appears we're not, then.
But if other districts,
Right.
other SUs are doing
Right.
it, then maybe we just should. I'm not.
Right, no, I hear what you're saying. I'm just saying if we're not using it, then it's doing a zero good.
Yeah.
Right.
If we find something that's more efficient and effective, is that the word?
Yes.
Then maybe we'll
Right,
use
right.
it and
Yeah.
I don't know, because I
Haven't seen it either yet.
seen it in a while.
Everybody saw it.
Well, in a while I added, yeah.
Right, a while,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, so we got Rick out there. Go ahead, Rick.
Hey, Paul. Yeah, just, we've got NASDAQ on board, working with us. Maybe we could run that by our representative and have him review it for us to help us. And they might have something else that they use as well.
Sure.
Simplified.
Sure, I can run it past them.
They might be charged for that.
Well, yeah, I know. Well, I mean, just a talk before, what we want to charge is
Oh,
By the minute.
by the minute. I don't think you charge us by the minute, but just something to mention, I'll talk to them, put it that way. All right.
How are we, I think these are great. I have obviously no issue with them. But my question is, we have on the back of our agendas now our little happy dance that we do about how we as a board did. I would love to see these on there more than that.
Okay, I got you.
I think this
So add the
is more
goals,
meaty.
Right, add the goals
than-
on the agenda, that's what you're saying.
I would like to.
I can do that, that's fine. Yep, I can do that. Goals on agenda, okay. All right. I like that idea. That's a good idea. Good idea. All right, and then, Rick, you're all set, Rick?
All set. Yep. Thank you.
All right, beautiful. So we're all set. We're good moving along with everyone. That's fine. All right, so next is, where am I at here? Oh, the good old superintendent search. Excellent. So we had the meeting on Thursday and we were given some homework to do. So I sent out a reminder email a couple days ago, yesterday. All right, so we got this. I'm trying to figure out how to handle this. Like if I should make bullet points on a separate piece of paper. So when I talked to Dave on this application letter, and he pretty much told me give them all a bunch of bullet points, and then they'll make the letter, and then send it back to review. I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to do this here.
Is it something we could, I don't want to put pressure on Lauren. I know this is a weird thing, but can you Google Doc a thing that can be presented so that everybody can see it, or is that easier?
If there's some, we need presented right now.
Well, I don't know. I would assume
No,
maybe we don't need to
maybe
present
create
it.
a Google Doc and then everyone can upload their information. You know,
I think it would be nice for the public to hear what we're
Right,
saying or
right.
to see it. That's all I'm.
Like, can you do a live
Yeah.
document now on through Zoom and you show it?
I can give you a blank document
Yeah,
to
that's,
work on.
yes,
Is
yes,
that-
yes.
I would just.
That's actually a good idea,
I
yeah.
mean, I'm happy to do it, but I don't think I can present my screen. That's all. And maybe we don't need to present it if we're talking and everybody can hear us.
Right. No, that's actually a good idea. Yeah, and then I'm gonna give it to him or I'll call him and talk to him tomorrow and give it to him. They said they're gonna work on it over the weekend.
I thought we were just.
Must have had a lot of caffeine that night. 'Cause I wrote
Yes,
nothing.
yes. Oh, you made a list?
I did.
Oh, beautiful.
And I didn't open your
Oh, thank you.
attachments, I just wrote what I thought we were looking for in the
Yes, that
superintendent.
is great. Nice. All right. Wow,
and they have to email me.
that's great. I wrote some stuff down. Well,
I mean, I got a lot of a handful of the things that could be put in, we would, we didn't need to, provide it because it's just information that we'll be able to get from the, like population and,
Right.
Number of students, that sort of thing. So that seemed like a gimme. I have a charter from Chester that I was trying to pull up, but it's not coming
all
through.
right. So, you want to start, Kelly?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yep.
Adrian wasn't going.
Are you asking me to type what you're
Do you
saying
mind?
in this argument?
Yeah.
Yes, I do. I don't do that well.
Okay, okay, then maybe that doesn't work then. I can read this though. I just wrote, as we were talking the other night, I wrote random things and I'll be honest, some of them don't make sense anymore. That we have some green initiative things that are going on, that we're a ski community, that we have the lakes, we have close proximity to Boston, Portland, Manchester, Albany. We did have a discussion that night about the salary range and whether we wanted to put that on there or not. We have a thriving after-school program, and then things that I thought we were looking for. An advocate for education, school improvement, ability to work with multiple towns, teaching experience, and then I wrote Port of Grad. No idea what
Portrait
that
of
means.
graduate.
Portrait of graduate. Thank you. Glad you were in my brain. A transparent person, and again, I talked about population, the mission statement, empowering families, students, teachers, admin, and staff. And then the rest looks like just who the stakeholders might be in the community. And I can type that on that, Cheryl, if you or not Cheryl,
I think I
sorry.
probably have about a third of what you said,
Okay.
so.
And I'll be honest, I don't have much more. But I have to go back and listen to the recording anyway,
Okay.
so. Because all you're all talking really fast tonight.
I've had a lot of caffeine, sorry.
You're still not, yeah. So,
I'm on the Wi-Fi.
so like add to that, we do outdoor learning. So we have our outdoor learning and we do the ski program. So outdoor learning, ski program. Let's see, you got mountain town, ski community, yeah. Yeah, you got.
If you share with me, I don't mind that. I can type as fast as I talk.
Okay.
Wow,
That's impressive.
wow.
All right, now I'm gonna be on the spot.
What do you want to call this document?
Applicate,
NASDAQ
bullet points.
bullet point, sure.
Thank you, NASDAQ bullet points.
Oh, but where are you gonna do it to the P-tar mill one and then I'll get it quicker.
And then Cheryl, do you have like enrollment numbers at this time, like available for the schools right now? You already have them? All right, excellent. Right, but know that we need those because it says that that's something we should put in there as well as how many students are in each school as well.
Okay.
Excellent, nice.
Maybe this Google Doc could be shared and we can,
Add to it after.
yeah.
Yep, that's fine.
It might be more
Yep.
efficient.
Right, Yeah, if people are gonna add to this, then I'll just wait till later on Friday to do it.
Because I was taking the approach more of like with the area, like I looked at the different, you know, towns and like what's going to attract someone, not just their job.
Right. And then, so Julie has her hand up whenever you get a chance. Hold up, Julie.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. You can do that and then.
Go ahead, Julie.
Hello. I had done some research on some postings for this position, the superintendent position in the region, but because I was not able to be there in person, maybe it does make sense if we get a shared doc going, I can like make red lines or add my content to that document. It seems like somewhat inefficient for me to read it, but I can. What do you guys want to do?
No, I think we're doing a live document that we can share with everybody. So that's what I think Laura's doing right now.
Okay, so then I can add it electronically, my ideas.
Yes.
Okay. And I might be out of turn. I was having a Zoom issue at the beginning of the meeting, but I'm not sure if in the notes from the 10/26 meeting, you captured that I had also volunteered to be on the committee. It looked like, Paul, you were the only person who was mentioned from LMH.
That's fine. We'll bring that back around and add that next meeting. We'll modify it next meeting.
Okay.
Yep, we'll do that. And you got the doc? You got that?
And everybody else looks like they're getting it at the moment.
Yeah, that's what he told me to do. Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah, they said they're gonna work on it all weekend and get it for us. So I'm gonna talk to them and, you know. Right.
I think the include salary information has nothing to do with the letter, though. It says include salary information. That was something we were just kind of batting around.
Right.
We weren't actually, if I remember right.
That's right. Yeah. He recommended not to talk about the salary until afterwards.
Well, he recommended that for sure, but there were some people, I believe, that were there that were on the board that were questioning that. And that's why.
Yeah, you put it in there.
Right. I just put a salary range question mark. Right.
Okay. I see.
And I'm not wedded to one way or the other. I'm just trying to.
Right. Now I'm all over the place. No caffeine. All right. So we're putting that in now. Does anybody need to talk about anything else with the superintendent search at this time? Seems like we got a game plan for the search. We're gonna put that in. I'm gonna talk to and get it all to them for tomorrow, like later on tomorrow.
We're talking tomorrow.
So yes.
So the deadline for people to put stuff
Yes.
in needs to be.
Yes, the deadline, you're right, the deadline, put all this stuff in, it's gonna be tomorrow, say about 5 PM.
Okay.
5 PM. And then I'll talk to Dave afterwards. So, that's what he told me to do. Just wanted to make sure. And now make sure yours gets in there too, Jeff. What you did.
You're gonna put mine in?
Yes, I'll put this in as well.
Okay.
So I'll just copy it and then put it right to the PDF. Get that. Okay, yep.
I'm gonna stop sharing this then if you don't.
Yes,
Yeah, that's fine.
yes.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Now, I'm not quite sure what to do about this. Like, that works out perfect, having a live document and all for it. Should have thought about that last Thursday. Jeez. All right. All right, so I'm gonna move along. We're all doing superintendent search. All right. Oh yeah, also about that, sent a letter to the union about having them pick 2 person from each district to sit on the committee. So the next meeting as of right now is December 14th. That's the committee meeting, right? So I'm gonna work on, right. December 14th is on for the committee. And then once the committee's finalized, we'll let everybody know. You all good with this? All right, excellent. Moving along. All right, we got some new business here. We have some first reads. So we have H3, community use of school facilities. C2, board meeting. F11, student clubs and activities, and H4, distribution of non-school sponsored literature in schools. So we had our policy committee meeting a few weeks ago. These were the 4 that we recommended to the board for the first read. So, anybody got any questions about these first policy notes? Yes, go ahead, Jeff.
Now, the first sentence of H3.
H3, yep.
Prohibits all community use of school facilities. Do you suppose a group of boys or girls want to have to use a soccer field on a weekend? Does that mean they can't be there? They're students, but they're not on the weekend.
Recognizes reserves.
That also takes the playground use off. Having that during school time, like track, they all go back to the track and gym.
That is a good, wow.
Sorry.
So they said in the first one, it says that the first, H3,
We're questioning this.
the first line in there,
So I mean, if it's prohibiting community use of the school facilities,
they talk about like playground.
playground use or
Using the
track
field.
or, you know.
Or if a dad wants to go down and throw a ball or never mind, baseball field, that's, no, never mind.
But I mean, does that prohibit, you know, the community members from ground?
Other than when the schools decide to give permission.
So
So
the
they
kids
have
can't
to-
be on the playground.
Unless the school gives permission for it, which the schools have done.
Okay.
My belief, I mean, and maybe it needs to be worded differently, but my understanding of it is that this is a statement that the TRSU reserves the right to prohibit anyone from using school facilities other for that.
Individual school gets permission. Maybe that should be in there.
Yeah, so we
Just a
can,
statement about that, yeah.
whatever will, at least that's my understanding of the idea behind it. So whatever,
Liability.
yeah,
That makes sense.
whatever the wording is that is going to get across that, you know, that this belongs to the schools. And the schools, and to the school districts, make the decision about when to share it. And in general, they share it,
Right.
but they control it.
Can I just, a little bit, to get that up a little bit, I know, especially during a school day, hotel, usually it's out, people from out of state, the track, if student or situations we have to go tell, you can't be here. The first thing they want to know is, where does it say that I can't be here? Where does it say it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we have a policy by our supervisory union that says you can't be on school grounds while school is in session.
Yep.
But what about out of session is what I'm talking about. So like, can the kids come back and use the track?
As of now, they do,
Or can the
yes.
kids go to Cavendish and use the playground after school?
We have given them permission to do that.
Verbally, or is it written somewhere?
So if it entity departments that they have to, what's relieved as your union. There's a process.
Sure.
But I mean, like for outdoor, like if Jeff wants to go throw a ball with,
Yep.
you know, his son, I mean, like, does he need to sign a release? Like, but is it written somewhere that people can use things? That's what I'm trying to get at is, you know, if it says it's prohibited, but we're kind of letting people do it, like there's liabilities, so we probably should be clear on what we're allowing, what we're not.
Sure. Yep. Agreed.
Yep. So we'll definitely bring this back to the committee then, the policy committee.
We also had a lot of discussion a few years ago about this, where there was a men's soccer club that was meeting in our gym and it turned into a bigger issue. I don't recall the whole deal, but we settled it somehow, but it wasn't very. Everybody was happy with the way it was done. We might need to look.
Right.
And most of the intent of this is the buildings. It does affect what happens with the ground system.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we'll bring it back to the policy. We'll debate about it at the meeting and see what we come up for proper wordage and verbiage and everything, and see what we can do, bring back a more clear definition. What do we mean by that? So I think it's great. Yes, we'll bring it all back.
And if you're gonna have individual buildings kind of make a call, it should word that in here, because it just says the superintendent.
Oh, right. Individual.
Yeah, so it's gonna be up to
building, whatever, building authority,
so it's
personnel. Yeah, yeah.
Usually it says the superintendent or designate.
Or designate.
And if you do that, then the superintendent can designate.
Yep.
And
All right. That's what. Okay, so we have that. Policy. All right. How about C2 then? The board meeting agenda preparation distribution. We just put a regular meeting, it's for an annual meeting. This is pretty much cut and dry. So this is recommended. So we get through this. This is required, but we pretty much do most of these. All right. And then remember, we got another read on it as well. F11, student clubs and activities.
consolidation.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. That's right. Into a single one. We wanted to see it again before we sent it on, that's right. Another one where, like I said, we're trying to streamline these policies so we don't have so many. Good with that one. We got another month. Then our final one. Oh, H4, distribution of non-school sponsored literature in school. We have it? Oh. I don't have it. No, you don't. I don't got it either. All right.
But as a 10.
All right. So
What was it? F4?
H4.
H4.
Right. We have it on the two F11s. No, I'm trying to consolidate F11. No, it doesn't. Okay, well, that'll come back next month then as a first read. First read. Right, and then we have this policy. All right. Just make some notes here. All right, so we're all clear on that. Move along. All right, now we're getting to the budget, TRSU budget of fiscal year 25. All right, so everybody just take a breath, relax. Let Lauren and Cheryl talk about it, and then we can ask the questions. It's the first time looking at this, so.
We pull things up and we will run through this. Right, so we've got a big budget to put in front of you. And I wanted to talk first about what the influence and context of our finances and one of the big things for this coming year is the end of ESSER funding, which is referred to throughout the districts and the state, and in some cases the country, as the coming ESSER cliff. The literal millions of dollars that have been provided to schools over the last 3 years to help to improve performance comes to an end in September. So we have some things, most of what we used our funding for were for professional development. We also used it for a number of projects. We did $800,000 on some facilities upgrades and a wide variety of resources that we will continue to use for many years. But there are some things with personnel that we spent money on that will be discontinued, and we have to make some decisions about what we are going to do with and about that. And so, for example, we had for the last 2 years a K-6 literacy coordinator and a K-12 math coordinator. And next year, the funding for that will disappear. So we are looking at ways to continue to have some of those resources. We are not this year having a curriculum director and those two positions. Those two positions are taking over some of the curriculum pieces. So we've restructured those things a little bit so that we can continue with it. We will have a full-time curriculum director next year. We actually did interviews for the position today, and we'll be looking to make a recommendation to the board at the next meeting. But we also have some other things that we have paid for with ESSER over the years that we were now going to have back in budgets, building substitutes, some clinicians, some other things. Also, inflation ran at 8.6% last year. Inflation overall is slow. We're back into 3-4% per month, but we are still dealing with that 8 to 9% increase in costs. We have declining enrollment, and we have fewer students. At the same time, we have increased numbers of students with intensive needs. In particular, I'm going to talk about this a little further when we talk about special education. We have within our school district, with under 900 students total within the SU, we have 240 students with value needs, which is a high percentage. So we have to meet those needs even while we have fewer students. We also have school facilities needs, aging buildings. The bond did not pass. We still have to be making edits in Green Mountain. We have a bond going forward for Ludlow and Mount Holly. We have to meet certain things for ADA compliance, and we have the shadow of the PCB remediation over us. We have two recent acts that affect our finances. Act 127, Cheryl did a lovely job last month, the month before, talking about the update to how weights are determined, which is part of the school funding formula. And that makes a difference in how much money we will have to work with while maintaining the same tax rate. And Act 173, which changes funding for students served through special education. We were doing a return on excess costs. We continue to have some of that, but it's changed to being a block grant. And there are winners and losers throughout the state. It was redistribution of some of it. Overall, while we are having some benefit because of Act 127, we are losing some of our funding through Act 173. So that's the background. So here's our summary. We're recommending a budget of $11,080,939 for the FY24. That is an increase of 15.57% over the approved budget last year. That increase is due to, we are reorganizing the technology department, and that means so some of this increase is due to bringing money that has been housed under the two school districts into the TRSU. It will then get redistributed back out as an assessment, but initially bringing all of that money into the TRSU means we have an increase in the TRSU budget. We are going to be replacing one of our technology support positions with a data manager as part of that reorganization. We'll talk more about that when we get to the tech department reorganization piece. We're recommending the addition of an assistant director of special education. That is a new position. We are recommending that because, as I said, 240 students in most states, your IEP, your special education percentage is 10 to 11%. If you have 240 students with special education needs, you would be in a district with 2,400 students, which is more than double what we have. In a district with that number of students, you would have a special education director, an assistant director, a supervisor for K-6, a supervisor for 7-12, and a point person in each one of the buildings. We have a director and that number of students. Again, I'll talk more about that later. And we have, talking about why there are increases, a 16.4% increase in the cost of health benefits, which means that over the last several years, that is nearly is it 60 or 70% share?
So with this, it'll be 65%.
So
6 years.
We also have, based on our bargaining unit agreements, all of our bargaining unit instructors, which for the central office isn't that many, but it is some of them, all of our special education teachers, regardless of the building they work in, are housed under the Two River Supervisory Union budget, and our salary increases are a part of the bargaining agreement. They will go up 4.75%. And our non-bargaining unit people for this year will make the argument that they should be paid the same when we do the budget for next year. Overall, 76% of the TRSU budget is special education costs. 4.6% is transportation costs. 19.3% is central office cost, which will include the CAC reorganization that we're going to talk about. So just a reminder for everybody, because I have sometimes heard in the past, why do we have all these people? And this is what central office is, and I don't know which one of these people anybody would think we can do without. So you have your superintendent, you have a business manager, a technology director, we have a point for consolidated funds, somebody who handles our CFP grants and also works with our Title I teachers, a curriculum director, a special services director, an after-school program director. Nested underneath those, we have a human resources manager, a payroll bookkeeper, accounts payable, an administrative assistant to the special services director, and now the district coordinator for the number of students we have who are outplaced, a Medicaid clerk who also provides some backup administrative assistant, and an administrative assistant to the superintendent, which is currently a 0.8 position. She works the other 0.2 assisting at Green Mountain. We also have the part-time position that Todd fills, buildings, ground security. We have a super registrar that is shared by two people who handle the summertime enrollments when we aren't paying our other front office personnel, and also handles all of the 7-12 registration for Ludlow Mount Holly students who aren't in a particular building. We have 0.4 staff who handles any of our English language learners, and the special education teachers for all schools are housed under, not central office, but the TRSU salary budget. We are, I should stay back there, and we are looking to add in a TRSU level data manager who would work primarily for technology director, but also provide support for the curriculum director. And most of the area schools have taken on this position as the amount of data in order to have data teams and data-driven instruction becomes challenging to process and do an analysis in a way that doesn't overburden either the technology director or building principals or teachers. So that position is one that both inputs data from various sources and also will help to provide the analysis and the information about it that goes out to boards and to teachers. Right.
What was the name of that again? I'm sorry, data what?
Data manager.
And coordinate with the state, that would be all the state reporting.
Yes. Yeah. And Lauren Baker, who's here, will talk more about all of that when we get to that specific piece as well. Here's what it looks like in a pretty pie chart. When we take the salary and benefits out of our three big areas, special education, transportation, and central office, our salaries and benefits are when we're, and not using the grants, which are the total percentage of things. It is primarily salaries and benefits, which is true in any organization. Special ed is also the biggest piece of this. Transportation is very small, so is central office, other than salaries and benefits. So why do we have this increase? As you can see, looking at this, we are going up in central office by $629,000. That is about some salary increases and about bringing some additional positions in.
2 positions, correct?
Yeah, well, we're bringing the entire technology department, which has been paid, other than our director, our tech support people have been paid for by each district individually. And our reorganization is to have our tech support people available to deploy to any school so that they are housed under the TRSU umbrella. And that, it means that we're paying the same amount of money for the rent, but it's getting divided, rather than starting divided, it is under the TRSU umbrella. Anytime you bring anything in, it makes for an initial large increase. So we'll go through exactly what that's going to be for a bottom line cost difference to each one of the districts when we get a little further into this. Transportation has actually gone down, in part because the Green Mountain bus loan is finished, and also because we didn't have bus drivers for, and we are looking at running next year one less bus because of that. So when we were doing figuring out how much we're going to spend, we're not budgeting to have 6 or 7 bus drivers driving 8 buses. So we have some reduction in costs there. Overall, special education is up, primarily again because of we're adding a position. Otherwise, our special education costs have actually not gone up the same level that they frequently do. And that is in part because some of the students we have who are particularly costly are not going to be in a position to continue to charge us in the future. And I won't go into details about that. Cheryl, is there anything with the federal grants that you wanted to?
No, essentially, I take what we've been allocated for the year. It's a way for the board to vote on them and acknowledge that we have them. And so that's why they're included in this portion of the budget. So it skews it a little bit in my mind because it's not being assessed back to the districts because it's money coming in from the state.
All right. So the technology department reorganization, something that we've been talking about for probably a little more than a year. And actually talking about it since before either Lauren or I were sure we were leaving. So this is something that, in spite of the fact that we are leaving, we want to continue. And Lauren, I don't know how. And I'm gonna, if you're gonna talk, you're gonna have to come up.
Well, she's coming up. Is it okay? if she went or no?
I think so. That sounds good.
If they're coming, they're coming. I'm loud.
Okay.
Over the years, we have built an infrastructure for technology that is the same across the whole district. So it's been, some people here, some people there, and it makes it has been more difficult to, have people specialize in anything because they're always sharing everything. So bringing everybody in as a single team under the TRC to be deployed in whatever way is necessary is a form of efficiency and effectiveness, I think, that we need. And then as far as the shift in some of the responsibilities, because our infrastructure build out over the years has been worked on, and a lot of our we have way, partly because of COVID and some other things, we're way more invested in cloud-based things, and we just need more systems support versus just the feet on the ground building support. So there's a lot of things that are done centrally, and that's kind of one of the reasons for the assistant to director of technology or data manager to kind of be able to facilitate some of those systems and projects and data and reporting and all, and then have tech support be the feet on the ground for various things. And there's been some inequities in how we're able to assign people, so this helps. And again, with just the basic things is the things that have happened over the last 5 years or so with the pandemic and all has really influenced how we've built out and how we've planned for our infrastructure and technology. And the data and systems management needs have increased, which I pretty much said. So try to acknowledge that, it's not the same system that we had, 5 years ago. So we need to adapt and change, and this would be a recommendation.
And when the first couple of years with technology needs were all about hardware and all about taking care of the desktop device or even making sure that everything was hooked up and able to be used in laptops when we were, or iPads when we were doing that initial one-to-one rollout. And that is still an issue, but it is no longer the primary issue. The primary issue is how do we use technology in instruction, not how do we make sure that there's technology available, which means looking to have our tech director be somebody who has classroom experience, who understands how to provide support to teachers for using the technology, as well as having the ability to make the technology.
We've tried over several budget cycles to figure out how do we get that tech integration coaching or specialists or something, but there's just too many other priorities. We've never been able to do it. So I think with our smallness, we talk about how putting multiple hats on people's heads is sometimes something we have to do it. So having the shift to more of the educational technology application in the leadership is what we need right now. And that this new structure supports that.
So this is our current structure. Technology director, a Ludlow Mount Holly coordinator, which is tech support, and 2 Green Mountain tech support. And as you can see from the numbers, we have 1 at Ludlow Mount Holly handling roughly 175 students and 2 people handling 320. The numbers don't really match up. And we already have some of the people at Green Mountain have been providing support to the central office and to Ludlow Mount Holly. It is past time Lauren and I talked at length about this, for all of our people to not be housed as technology as a Ludlow person or a Green Mountain person or a Cavendish person it needs to be in the TRSU so they can go where they're needed when they're needed. So our proposal for the updated structure for the director
has a shift towards a more educational application focus in this part from the leadership part of it. And there's just a laundry list of all of what's involved with that.
And it's essentially increased instructional support. And in order to have the ability to do the increased instructional support, we need somebody managing the out of control data influx.
Yeah. And so then we have an assistant who is more systems oriented and data oriented and reporting oriented, and you have the two tech support specialists, we'll call, that are similar in function but available across the board. And you can see the things that they would support. All right, the focus is always, we've always tried to have the focus be on students and staff and, classroom equipment, and that's hopefully still.
And while our two tech support people would have as a primary focus, one on K-6, one on 712, that's just a general statement. They would both be available to be in any school as needed.
Right. Technology, that type of stuff doesn't matter about the school, like the children, right? Like, data's data, networks.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And if the fact that we're spread out, I know it can create some concerns about our having two people rather than three people. But if we were in a single building with 800 students in it, you wouldn't think that you needed to have a tech director and two people. A tech director and two support people would feel like certainly more than enough. Are there questions about this?
Yeah.
Not yet. Okay.
I have a question. It's less about the structure.
Yep.
So I know, I understand why we do this, and I'm not asking necessarily for myself, but because I can hear people who are going to ask in my head already. Every year we seem to do this restructuring thing where we say, well, the TRSU budget went up because we brought things from the outside in, or not outside, but the other schools. And then we get accused of it being an excuse or other things. So I wonder, is there a time, is there a way, is there a place, is there a rationale, reason that we can't do it, be done, and then the next year we don't have to say, hey, we brought in these new things and that's why it's so much?
If I'm hearing you right, the question is why can't we just do everything 1 year? Instead of doing it over multiple years?
I mean, we brought in transportation. I mean, I feel like I was at Cavendish not long ago when we brought technology into the budget. So now I'm like trying to think back to that.
We brought some of it in, but not
all of it. Okay, so like those are just, I just feel like the community asks those questions a lot, and
there isn't, there's no reason why we couldn't try to look at every possible thing and bring it all in. Part of why we don't is that it feels harder to manage making all of those changes at one time. And it is also that there's been a level of resistance from the school district boards to accept that it's a good idea to centralize things.
I think because then they feel like it's less control because they don't get to vote on this particular budget, right?
Although they do.
Yes, they do. Yes, I get that. I'm just, it's indirect.
All right.
And increasingly, the AOE looks at us, the TRSU, as a single organization, so that we're reporting things and we're, their governance view of us is that we're one reporting entity, and it gets really complicated sometimes when we're always splitting stuff out and then putting it back together, or all that. It's just a lot of extra, effort that seems that we could spend doing something that benefits students and teachers.
The state says it's one thing, but we've set it up in different districts, so you have to be putting it together and then splitting it back out again. There are financial aspects to it where we are billed for it being one thing, but we have to pay out of two separate checking accounts, and then people don't understand or calculate it correctly.
It comes in tiers. We utilize the other tiers. You labor money quite well.
So they get the checks from these two organizations. They say, we don't have a contract with these people. Not renewed because we didn't receive payment from what we expected. So it's just sort of nonsense part of it.
Right. All right, we got Julie. So if you want to unmute, Julie.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hold up, Julie.
Done.
Are you good, Julie?
Hello. Thank you for this presentation about the technology reorganization, and I generally support efforts to sort of modernize operations and increase reliable documentation and enhanced abilities to examine data. Can you comment, though? I've seen in the press a lot of coverage about how municipal networks are particularly vulnerable to, external attacks and create, are at times targeted. Can you comment on whether the reorganization and the realignment of duties in this area enhances this security from a technology standpoint of our systems in the district?
You asked that question because I just spent the last day at a conference where we had the FBI and the Vermont State Police people talking to us about all the various things, and I was part of the panel because we were doing some work here that was shared with the rest of the group up there, and it's a lengthy thing, but I think the short answer is yes, this better positions us because one of the biggest exposures that any organization has is its people to, either phishing attacks or things like that. And when you have people who are trying to share responsibilities, it gets really tricky, especially if they're admins on systems or things like that. So, the recommendations are always, along the lines of giving authority to certain people to be in charge and give them the responsibility for making sure. It gets really confusing if you're always sharing. So this is an attempt to sort of pull things together so the team is more unified and they can be more clear about who's in charge of what, which then protects our digital assets and our network way more than if everyone's kind of trying to do their own thing. So it's a tricky topic and it's going to be ongoing, but yes, I think it does help.
Thank you.
Great. Our next slide here is what it's going to cost. So the overall increase in cost from the reorganization has this giant number attached to it, even though a great deal of it is what we are bringing in, so it's not new money that we are spending. We have an increase in salaries from bringing some things in. We have an increase in benefits, and the $203,000 software service increase because we have been billing these subscriptions out to each district. It's not that they're going to cost $200,000 more. It is just going to be under the TRSU umbrella. It makes it easier to match the payments. What Cheryl was just saying, we've got people who say, I don't have a contract with the TRSU, or I have a, so why am I receiving, I do have a contract with the TRSU, why am I being paid by Ludlow Mount Holly and by Green Mountain or the other one? When all of the assessed costs go out from all of this, the bottom line additional cost to each district, Ludlow Mount Holly actually has a savings as a result of our taking one of those positions, and the most expensive tech support position historically the one that is in Ludlow Mount Holly. That is as a result of that position having been a tech supervisor prior to the TRSU and having supervised 3 schools rather than 2. And the salary stayed at that elevated place, even though it's become the smallest piece. So that is when we bring that in and then reallocate those things out, Ludlow will be paying a little less and Green Mountain will be paying a little more. Anything else about technology? I'm sure you have other questions. Do you want to ask them now or shall we move along?
We've got another crack at this. Are we good? We can just keep,
All right.
Just the first read, yeah.
Special education. We are proposing, as I said before, the addition of an assistant director. Thank you, Lauren. We have an outsized number of students with these special needs. And Mary Barton, our special services director, does an outstanding job for us in managing all of the things that have to happen at a state level, handling things that central office people handle. And it leaves her with no time to be in every one of our 5 buildings, supervising every one of our special education teachers and giving them a lot of face-to-face time and additional instructional support. We do provide that in other ways. Our principals also provide supports, but they are not experts. If we have an additional person at a supervisory level, as we are doing these new requirements under Act 173, we'll be able to provide better support. I would have been asking, if we really wanted to do it right, that we should have a K-6 supervisor and a 7-12 supervisor. And that is based on our numbers and the way other districts do it. That's what we should have. That felt overwhelming in terms of the amount of money that we would be asking for. So I was talked into not asking for both of those positions and instead asking for the one. But I will keep mentioning that if we really wanted to be providing the special education support that we would be looking for more. Mary, do you want to talk at all about that? Say a few things. I'm sorry, we'd have to ask you to come up, otherwise we're
This is the speaking section over here.
still sitting here.
And we're under a lot of pressure to make sure we're in compliance with all the state and federal regulations and some new rule changes, talking about specialized services and the multi-layers of systems of support. Working with Gen Ed, we're working more closely with them, so this person would be very helpful for that. And if I have a legal situation, it may take days, and I'm working on that for days, and I'm out of touch, and I have to get back in and catch up. So it takes a lot of extra time. I don't mind putting in the time, but it would be very helpful and be more efficient to have someone assisting me doing some of the duties that I do. And with the homeless situation that has probably and become more in this area, there have been more people coming in, and we have to make sure we're in compliance with the federal laws with the homeless children too. They deserve education, and we have to make sure we're in compliance. And so that is also taking extra time too.
Because Mary's job is special services, as well as special education. The increased number of students that we have had in the last year and a half who are homeless, who have to be provided with a great deal of support, all falls on her shoulders. And when dealing with that, that means unable to provide the kind of support we want to make sure that our educators in providing special services are getting within the district.
And the preschool on the Ludlow side, there's preschools in the schools. But on the on Chester side, there is a collaborative, and we work with about 12 to 15 private schools, and we have to make sure that these children are getting what they're supposed to be. Recently, we've worked with this EOE with some of the private preschools and asking them to help us with making sure they're in compliance with the special education law. So that's another area that's taking a lot of time too.
We have some additional costs that are in here, as well as the assistant director. Our tuition for outplaced students has gone up, never goes down, it goes up. The 16.4% health insurance increase affects our special educators and to the tune of $79,000. We are proposing the replacement of our special education van. I don't know, Cheryl or Mary, did one of you want to talk about?
Yeah, so the van that we currently have is, has a wheelchair access to it. So it only has 2 students, and the student currently using it will be moving on. The van has 199,000 miles on it. It pretty much owes us that in, get a van that will hold more students, not necessarily being that accessible, and be able to replace one of that outsourced contracted services that we have. Costs us a great deal of money to use.
What do you think the cost savings would be for getting rid of their contract?
Oh, some of them are $450 a day to transfer the students. So it's huge. Even if we put this money up this year, we'll have the van for 4 or 5 years, and so we don't have this cost every year. We could look into a loan and maintain it, so it's not that big of a hit to the budget, but
Interest rate is so high.
yeah.
What if we were to need a wheelchair accessible van again?
So if the student were to continue, we'd have to be looking for something.
Yes.
So then we'd have to be. I'm not sure, well, I don't know all the students' situations, we could talk about them anyway, but we'll have to cross it. It's hard to plan ahead because things change.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, and if we had a student who all of a sudden needed the handicap van wheelchair accessibility, maybe then we could outsource that to one of the companies or whatever, however it would work. We'd have to figure it out.
I think we tap into every contracted transportation service that's in the area. And it's not just us, every district is doing this. And if we could get more drivers, I think I've put a van in a couple of times. We just can't get drivers. Now the drivers, so we want to take advantage of that.
Right. And we also have an increased number of paraeducators. Well, it says 5 FTEs. 3 or 4 of them are ones that are in fact currently in, whoops, get that for us? Oh, it's fuel. It's hard to get it.
The other one.
Yeah,
Not in this session.
Thank you. Supporting students who travel from Green Mountain to Springfield for the ODP. 3 or 4 of those are people who are in fact moving from one school into another. But because of that movement, they are moving from one category into another. So we have that increase. And I don't know.
The code is, so those are the certified occupational therapy assistants. And so the IDB grant that we have, we're like maxing it out. And so we're looking to be able to have some more flexibility with that grant. By doing that, we're going to pull this into the general fund to free up some available grants. There was talk of some of those grants going out, so.
Oh, but we got,
Sorry.
go ahead, Steve, but yeah, you hold up, Steve. All right, go ahead, Steve.
Hi, can we go back to the last slide for a second?
Sorry.
Hold up.
Maybe we can.
I'm holding. There you go. Okay. You know, Lauren talked about the assistant special education director and the enormous pressures that are on that department, and increased number of students and pressures coming from unhoused students. It sounded like somebody talked you out of having 2 assistant directors. Are you sure you just want 1 assistant director?
I want I want a K-6 supervisor and a 712 supervisor. I also want to be fiscally realistic.
Well, that the level of special education need is extraordinary. I don't see this as an unrealistic request if you wanted to add another one. I think that it's a staff that's stretched thin as it is, and will be stretched thin even with the addition of a person.
I agree.
Could we look at this budget? Does it have to be another assistant director at 92,000?
Well, I mean, we could look at adding somebody to provide a slightly lesser level, but I'm not sure how we would do that. If we divided this up into somebody handling pre-K6 and somebody handling 712, we might pay for those a little bit differently, because the number of students who require support in pre-K6 tends to be higher than the number of students requiring support in 712. But if it wouldn't be double this amount, it would be nearly.
Okay. One of the reasons I'm particularly focused on this is that with the percentage of special needs kids, there's a hidden cost to under supporting them, which is that it, as you know, it slows down and encumbers the entire program. So I think it's a really minimal cost to try to facilitate a classroom where where people are doing the best they can.
Well, we can certainly put it in and let you know what that looks like for when we bring it back again next time, and you can tell me whether you want to leave it in or take it back out.
That did great. Thank you.
Just a clarifying question. If you're talking about an assistant special services coordinator, I don't remember the exact title you used, sorry,
yeah,
versus a supervisor in pre-K 6, 7, 12, is that a different pool of applicants? Is that a different pay scale? Is that like a teacher with an added stipend as a supervisor versus an assistant admin team? I mean, that's all I'm trying to clarify.
So it depends, is the answer to that. And unless somebody is at least this is my understanding, unless we're hiring somebody to be the director, they don't require the director certification. So you could hire somebody to be the assistant director who had a special education degree and experience, and not necessarily have the admin piece to it. If we put them in as being a single assistant director, we would probably treat that as an admin level position. If we do it as a pre-K 6 or 712 supervisor, we'd have to look at exactly what the duties are that we were giving people. We could potentially do that under a teacher contract. For most of the people who would apply for that, they're going to be pretty close to the salary under our current contract anyway. But it is possible that we could define it in a way that would make it, strictly speaking, a teacher contract, and then it's not about administration, it is about, we're not negotiating the salary. They cost what they cost on the teacher schedule. We wouldn't be putting them in classrooms, so we'd have to talk about what specifically their duties are. But if we set it up so that they would be under the teacher contract, then depending on how many years of experience they have. Somebody with 20 years of experience and a CAGS or a doctorate, that's the salary they earn. And this is why we set it up this way. If you give somebody an administrative level position, you should be paying them less.
And I'm just thinking in my head that pre-K 6 is going to have many more, maybe double the kids. And depending on how the duties suss out, you might have double the work, and that might not be a way to divide it either. And so
No,
that's,
so-
I'm just, yeah.
We would have to look at how that played out. We might well, if we were going to be looking at actually having to, we might be structuring it similar to what we just said for technology, which is that we could have somebody whose primary approach was going to be elementary school, somebody primary approach middle and high school, and we could decide to define middle school to include grades 5 and 6. But we'll put the numbers in and we'll bring that back to you, and then you can decide whether to keep it or to decide. Is that all right? Great. Thank you. We still have our special education programs. The savings from those are a little bit different. We have fewer numbers than we've had in the past couple of years. In our social emotional needs program, our savings are smaller than they've been in the past, which is actually a good thing, that a number of the students who are in that program have been successfully reintegrated back into the classroom, which is what the intent is. In our autism needs program, we also have fewer students, but we have a couple who are coming to our program from out of district and paying us tuition. So we're saving by not having to do our outplacement, but we're also getting nearly $60,000 of tuition payment for students who are coming in. So in the past, we've had some higher savings, but we're still in a little over $500,000 savings as a result of having these two programs. Transportation savings, we said before, we are down by about 25%. The bus loan's complete, and we had a reduction of time for some additional bus runs for Lumbo. We've had some misunderstanding from one of our bus drivers about what the ability to make sure that you bill for 2 hours every time you go out, which is part of our contract, that you have that, but if you take another run while you're still in the 2 hours, you don't bill us again. So we have taken care of some of that, so that we are able to budget for less for next year than we thought we would. And we have 2 bus drivers for Lumbo Mount Holly, which for a moment we didn't have any. So we're pleased about that. And then we've got what you'll see in the folder that everybody here has had shared with them. People in the public will have available to them. Tomorrow, the link will be up on the TRSU website, so you'll be able to see all of these things. Hard to see on the screen. This is the breakdown of all of the pieces of what goes into the special education budget. And you will see that the overall increase, when it's all averaged together, is a little over 13% from last year. The biggest difference is in our salaries. We're talking about adding some people in. And we have the same chart for central office. And again, that is adding in some salaries that we haven't had before. Increases in benefits. Our purchase services are some vendors that we hire to provide services for us. Are not actually
In this case, it's the $203,884 for software.
Yes.
Software.
Yes, sorry. And then the final one for what the savings in transportation and where that is coming from. You can see that $144,000 of savings because of the bus fee.
All right. Do we have any more questions? We got the direction. We all have all month to absorb this in. We can come back next month with more questions.
Well, we have feedback now, we'd like it, so we come back with,
And we know that
first, that was a lot.
And districts have to hear about it. We will do this presentation next week for Ludlow Mount Holly, not this entire presentation, We'll go through the Ludlow Mount Holly district budget, but we'll also talk about these changes and what the changes are from the TRSU, so they get to hear about it. The Green Mountain budget meeting won't happen until November 28th. So that is very close to when we will be meeting again that first week in December. So the more people can think about this, and if you have questions or concerns, share them with us prior to when we see you again in December, so that we can make sure we have the. Our timeline with this is in December, you give us more direction, tell us if you want to add things, wonderful. If you say you want to cut things, you'll let us know about that. And then we wind up having that presentation meeting in January, when you really have to make the final decision.
We get the letter from the state, also Brad James, around December 1st. They give us the deals with, a lot of the stuff is really more about the districts than it is about the supervisory union, but all placed together. And then the state's long-term weighted membership, they've given us a little calculator to figure it out, so we'll work on that, but, we don't always have all the parts that they have, so. I'm starting out using equalized people, because that's what I would normally do, and we'll make that transition. Ready to say that webinar was November 14th.
November 14th.
At 1:30?
And from noon to 1:30.
Okay. Well, tomorrow time, because I know it's not correct.
From noon to 1:30, and the registration is on the VSBA website.
It's one of these that you register, they'll send you the link.
Yeah, usually they do that. I don't know whether they will have that for this, but I know people are asking for it because it's always confusing. And this is a exponential level of confusion around the budget. The meeting Paul and I went to, the board members from other districts there trying to get answers about the specific things that will happen within their districts. And the answer is you're just not going to know until after the point at which you have to make your decision about your budget. Yep. And you'll know the effect of all of this on your budget after you've already decided.
Yep.
And the questions to a couple of legislators in the room was what are you doing? How is that possible? And the answer is,
it's what it is.
It's mind-boggling. And so at least one person said, it's Vermont.
Yeah.
So with the new funding as well, they've given us more taxing capability. We can't give that back to the taxpayers, we need to use that. It ties our hands there, but looking at what these budgets are and where I am with Ludlow and Holly, I don't think that's going to be a problem. But now we have the concern of our costs per pupil can't go up more than 10%, or we have to send our budget in for review by majority of our peers.
They're referring to it as an inquisition.
Yeah, so that's
and they still don't even know how that's going to work.
But then we have a 5% cap on what our tax rate can increase. So there's just all these different pieces, parts that are just going to make it fun.
Right, and they still don't know about any of those things. Like they had no answers for us, so it was pretty interesting. Yes. Yep.
The people that make the rules aren't necessarily the ones that have to implement them and use them. And so they don't necessarily know the cause and effect of what they say.
And the timeline for answering these questions is always out of sync with the reality of when you have to make the decision. But we'll do our best, and we'll give you everything we can.
And if anybody has any questions, feel free to contact me. I'm happy to talk anybody through anything that explain what I can, get answers if I don't know.
We're all good? All right, good job, everybody with that. Can't wait for next month. All right, let's see. Policies approved at this meeting was E10, the stipend policy, F9, transportation, and G10, cybersecurity. All right, we got public comments. Any public comment here? Go ahead.
Again, my name is Randy Miles from Chester. I wanted to urge the board also about the usage of school property by citizens and stuff. I think, it's good you're going to review that. Like I say, the public wants to use these facilities after hours and stuff. I think it's important to the community. And I also think it's important that we put something in there that if somebody abuses the privileges, that you have a way of not allowing them back in. Because I don't see anything misuse of public exists. The last thing I want to talk about, and one of the main reasons why I'm here at this board, is about the mascot, the chief inmate, all that business that has drawn way too much attention. And soon it will be coming to an end one way or another. But I feel what is going to take place at our next meeting is going to create more havoc than you can imagine. My biggest concern I have with this is that the chief inmate was holding out words directly against me. By doing that and dismissing the chief inmate, whether you retire it, you're removing it. We've pulled it in to the Act 152 and the B5 policy by those terms, but should be out one of two very important things, which is the Green Mountain name itself. The students and the athletes are brought up to the field, they are introduced both home and away as Green Mountain chieftains. I don't know who out of the boards is able to take responsibility to decipher why a chieftain name that's no longer associated with an image that was dismissed in 21 long before our E5 policy came into place. I feel that chieftain name was pulled in and created way too much ruckus. It's only going to get worse if the board chooses to act on this. It's in the state hands. I urge members to talk about this sensibly and openly and look at what it was causing. This is not one issue. There are a lot of really important, smart people on the board who want to do good things, and we should get to that point again. I believe the talking of the group should come into place, but I think this issue, this one single issue, is too powerful for the board to be able to sit down and talk about. I don't think we're really fully understanding the implications of this and that. But we're talking also the school. There were banners everywhere. How do you separate the school? How do you separate the Green Mountain name? But only focus on the chief name, which only stands for leadership. So I'm urging some people before that next meeting takes place to really sit down and have an open discussion with everybody. And that's really all I have to say for tonight. I thank you for the meeting you had. It was very informative. I love the way you run it.
Thank you. Great. Awesome. Okay, go ahead, Amy. Hold on. Yeah, all right, go ahead, Amy.
Hi, thank you. My name's Amy Hamblett. I am a special educator at Chester Andover, and I just am very happy to see in this proposed budget some support for Mary Barton and her office. I can tell you she has an impossible job, and as a special educator, I need her expertise more than and I know she wants to give it, but she is pulled in so many directions. So I'm just really, really thrilled to see some support for that. The second thing I just want to say very quickly is that with regard to the previous speaker, I can tell you at Chester Andover, there are students that walk around our building with future chieftain apparel on, with the headdress on the back of their apparel. So those two, the image has not been separated from the name. Thank you.
Great. Anybody else?
Can I just, as part of public comments, there's no longer on our agenda, and I feel like there used to be, and I just maybe have not noticed, but there's no longer a board member comments. But
you're public.
Right. So now I'm public at the moment. But I just would like to respond to what Randy said is, and sort of, I agree that I think having to block people and all of this, but there's also this balancing act that we have to be able to be efficient and effective, and I don't know that I have a solution, but I feel like I want you to know that I at least heard you. And I think the talking time limits are need to be flexible. When we have 70 people that want to talk, 2 minutes is fairly reasonable, I think. When we have one person who wants to speak up, 4 or 5 minutes, I think is reasonable. And I think at least at this board, we've been consistently flexible like that. And so I just don't want you to feel unheard. I just am not sure what the solutions are and how some things have gone on recently. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Moving along, we got our next meeting date agenda. So December 7th, 2023 at 6 p.m. That is a regular meeting, and that's at Cavendish Town Elementary School and Zoom. And what's going to be on that agenda is going to be, we're going to bring back the October 26th special meeting. So we're going to add Julie for that. Let's see. We'll bring back second reads of C2, F11. And then H4 will be a first read again, since we didn't have that policy within our agenda material. And then H3 is going back to the committee. I'm gonna leave the goals on there, because we're gonna talk about those, just leave as goals, and then superintendent search.
PFAS up on Otter Creek.
PFAS update, all right.
You're gonna do that here?
Right, no, that's one level of Holly.
You wanna do it at Ludlow Mountain? Okay.
Right, yeah. And then that's what I got. Good with that? Oh, and then of course the budget again. So won't forget about that.
Please don't.
We can always add it.
Makes it so long.
We'll just say yes, we'll be done.
Anything else at this time? No? All right. Oh, we got our self-evaluation real quick here. All right, guys, we've given and read the agenda background materials prior to the meeting. Yes, we have. We're respectful to each other, the public and the administration. Yes, we're very nice. We are, we handle conflict openly and constructively. Yes, we did. And then we focus on the roles and the responsibility of the board. Yes, we do a good job of that. And then we act as a team once a decision has been made, and we work collaboratively throughout the decision making. Yes, we did, Tim. So, 2 thumbs up. All right.
Motion.
To adjourn.
Second.
All right, second. All right.